Sorry, pre-show bong hits. Sorry.
I don't smoke the weeds anymore because I smoked enough back in the day. But I gotta say, the pre-show warm-up was really hilarious because these two guys are coughing. I have a cough, and it was freaking hilarious. So yeah, okay, let's cut this in post. Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill.
Now without the coughing.
So welcome to the hottest mess in showbiz, Rad Pod and Chill. I absolutely love that opener. That was legendary. So yeah, we are going to be talking about the mental invasion because that's really going around like a contagion. We're going to be talking about Russian war crimes and a bit about the news of the day or the week. Hi-Fi and my excellent adventure in Washington, D.C. with Jackie Singh. I'm sure we'll talk a bit about that. And yeah, where do you guys want to start? I'm Heidi, Jim, Hi-Fi. You guys know the drill.
Jim, you start.
I don't know. We have a very professional and serious production here, so I assume that we would have had some plans or something, but instead
and I got lipstick on my teeth, which shows just how professional we are.
Yeah, no, look, for me it feels like the dumb before the storm.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like they're dumbing the population as much as possible before whatever bullshit they have planned this summer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I mean, everything is just so stupid. Like,
yeah.
and not in just like sort of obvious propaganda ways, but
right.
As anyone who's been on the Zitters knows, Elmo effectively nerfed likes as a way of understanding someone's behavior online. Because now you can hide your likes from everyone. And so for researchers and people interested in affinities and interested in researching things on Twitter, you can no longer do that. And in my view, and to Amanda Staircam, also it seems pretty clear that it's to camouflage inauthentic behavior leading up to the election, right?
Yeah.
So we're 5 months before the election, and suddenly Elon Musk cares about your privacy.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Very concerned about your privacy. 5 months before the election. It has nothing to do with that, right? So you have to ask, why would you hide that? Well, let's say you were some propagandist that wanted to push a narrative and you wanted to add artificial influence to your account with bots or, any number of artificial means. One of the ways that you get yourself up in the algorithm is likes. So you hire a bunch of fucking bots or Russians or Macedonians or whoever the fuck to just like your shit, and all of a sudden you're super popular and your narrative, is now up at the top of things, and no one will ever know how that magically happened because his overlord neo-Nazi 4chan troll decided to take away information from the user.
Yeah.
And what's important about that is You don't do that in software design and engineering. You don't take information away from the user without a reason, without a purpose.
Right.
And you don't give people the ability to hide things from others without a reason. Remember, this thing has been like this since 2006.
Yeah.
Like, hadn't been a problem before. Like, your privacy hasn't been a big concern until right before the election. Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
Also, I will just note that Elmo, and this I think is important as well in terms of like where this is headed. Elmo apparently got mad at Apple.
Yeah.
The now second most valuable company in the world, which is amazing. Microsoft is valuable. But Elmo got mad at Apple and just fucking nerfed their whole account. They're just like, no, you can't use it, and like took all the.
Did that actually happen? Because I've heard people say that like Apple had no tweets and Apple this and Apple that, and I don't know, man. I do know this about Elon Musk though.
No, hold on. Let me answer your question because you're like calling me into question. It's like just because you're not. I'm on Twitter all the time. I can see it because I haven't been banned.
What's that like?
I've only been banned 3 times. Not 78.
We're in the hundreds now. Yeah, we're over 100.
I'm sure we are. Though.
He's always there. The shadow knows. He's always
I'm
there.
back on there right now. They just.
I know you are.
I know.
So
thinking around in the dark.
So thank you for that robust start to our show. I like to take a periodic victory lap because with you guys by my side, I wrote that unmusked back in 2022. I'll repeat that without the cough. I wrote the unmusked report in 2022, which focused on essentially what Hi-Fi predicted, that Musk would turn Twitter into a $44 billion PSYOP cannon. And you know, I have Fiona Hill talking about how Musk was going to be passing messages for Putin, or had been, according to her. And Michael McKay said that Musk was going to turn it into a Russian propaganda platform and weaponize it like VKontakte. So all of that has come to pass and more. And, you know, the blue check operation worked great, threw a lot of chaos into the mix. You don't know who's authentic, who's not. In addition to all of that, we learned from our good friend Brent Allpress that in a Council for National Policy study, 2016 helped throw the election to Trump. In 2020, or Twitter in 2016 helped throw the election to Trump. In 2022, Twitter helped throw the election to Biden. And Brent, you know, was telling us a year ago that his concern was that Musk was brought in to throw the election and to influence the outcome of the election in 2024, obviously toward Trump or extreme, whoever ends up being their avatar, the extreme right's avatar. And I'd just like to say everything's going according to plan.
Hold on. I just need to point out that not only are things going to plan, but the Nazi cult gave the Nazi a payday.
Yeah, I saw that.
This is about a bunch of bullshit because, I mean, people, explain something to me. How does this man deserve $45 billion when Tesla has, you know, they've got cars building up, inventory building up, people can't get repairs. You look at the stock price over the last year, it went, you know, a high of almost 300 down to whatever it is right now, 170 something, 74. It's down 28.94% in the last year. How is he worth this money? This is bullshit. This is lies. This is a cult. This is not reality. I'm not a business like Warren Buffett savvy, but even I know that's some bullshit.
Well, Jim, why don't you chime in? It smells like the typical, you know, follow the money situation that we find ourselves in with this crime syndicate.
Well, I like to remind people that Elon Musk dragged his feet for months and months and months. And then like 2 weeks before the midterms, he was like, oh my God, I just found a whole shitload of Saudi money.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go. And like just like signed all the documents and was like,
Yeah.
let's go, it's gonna be great. And just in time to literally tell his, at the time, like 80 million people, you should vote just to balance things out. Balance it out. You should vote for Republicans, right? I mean, it was as blatant as it fucking gets.
Yeah.
So, look, the whole goddamn thing is about swinging the election.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a foreign government, or you're a cabal of oligarchs, or you're a cabal of oligarchs and foreign governments, right?
Yeah.
You know, how are you gonna do it? How are you going to fleece America? I mean, Elon Musk, recall, shut down the Starlink over Crimea and then over the Black Sea because he was worried that we were going to blow up Putin's boats. What the fuck, man? Like, fuck you, dude. Like, whose side are you on? And there's a simple answer to that.
Yeah.
Fucking Putin's side.
Yeah.
There's a brilliant article written recently by the Ukrainian group of journalists, and hopefully we'll talk about that, but on the subject of Elmo and what a fucking nightmare he is. These people did the job that all American journalism has failed to do entirely.
Yep.
Which is to make it's a masterpiece of OSINT, and it's the closest thing I've seen to a group that understands the kind of scale and scope of it and how this thing actually operates and works together. Fucking brilliant. And there are companies and people listed in this group and individuals because it's about propaganda. And the right wing is having a little shit fit about it. Oh my God, it's a target list. The libs are coming after us with the target list, which if you've seen Ivan Raiklin, these are the same people who are cheerleading Ivan Raiklin, who has a literal deep state target list is what it's called. And he says, we are going to live stream and give the capital punishment to you with our constitutional sheriffs if you come through our county, right? So that's on the one side. And then you have these Ukrainians who do this masterpiece of journalism. It has nothing to do with fucking targeting anyone at all. And what does Elon Musk do? Elon Musk comes around and calls this group of journalists terrorists. And for the last 4 days, they've been getting swatted, stalked, threatened. We're going to get your money taken away from you. We're going to sue you. Like everything all at once on this group of people who did what? Let's think about this. What did they do? Mapped out all the same shit that we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, a far more expansive and better job than I've ever fucking done. It's amazing what I focus on, kind of sectors of it. And then Elon Musk says, these are fucking terrorists.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? Somebody's a terrorist here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
Elon Musk is a terrorist. Sorry.
There's a terrorist here in this equation, but it is not these brilliant people at Texty. You should follow them. Texty is the name of them. Texty.ua. And they're
Texty.org.ua.
Yes, thank you. Texty.org.ua, and they're my new heroes, and everyone should support them and follow them and fuck Elon Musk.
And
Yeah,
they got a lot of zersetzung because of what they printed. However, I do like in the article it just like near the very freaking top, right? It starts out with Elon Musk
yeah.
and
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Well,
So
I mean, look, you can the over the target is a very annoying, like very QAnon kind of a phrase, but it comes from a thing of there's a reason for the phrase, which is when you get fucking flack like Elon Musk calling you a terrorist out of fucking blue,
yeah,
you're
you're doing
probably
something right.
You're
Doing
probably
something
on
right.
something. Yeah.
So what I really, anytime you find something like that, especially leading off with Thiel and Musk at the top and framing them for what they are, for me, what's really important is that among the problems we have with the mental invasion, which we're going to talk about, is what I was mentioning last week, where on LinkedIn, it's still like 2010 and Musk is still like this, Wonder Boy, and Thiel is still this just amazing genius. And it's like this false reality that is still propping up a lot of money in a lot of industries. But the problem with that is that moves us further away from reality and truth. So it's really important for me that we work our way toward a consistent reality, and reports like that are incredibly helpful. And then also, I think maybe because it's the work we do, but it's like these guys keep telling on themselves. When Musk calls journalistic, reader funded, they're not like, they're basically supported by, donations and readers. When he calls them terrorists, it's like he's telling on himself. He's basically saying, these guys obviously nailed it, and I got to now obfuscate. And so what I'm really hoping we can accomplish together is narrowing that gap between unreality and reality, just because sometimes it's capitalistically convenient. No, not anymore. Bullshit. Money launderers, part of the mob, propagandists for Putin. Like when Jim put a, hold on, high
actually
five. Let me
okay.
finish. When Jim posted a clip of Mike Flynn a couple of days ago, it literally looked like he was Solofiev. It looked like he was doing a pitch for Putin, like he was Putin's public relations man. That's not okay. I need
He was
everybody to see
threatening
that.
us with his nukes at the time.
It was just, it was insane. It was literally like, I mean, we've used various.
The context was, dude, Putin's sending warships to Cuba, and that means he's gonna nuke us. I mean, it was like that. Putin is mad because we sent weapons to Ukraine, and so he is going to nuke us from these warships that don't have nukes on them.
Yeah.
In off of the coast of Cuba, and this is a million times worse than the Cuban Missile Crisis, and literally Putin is about to rain down nuclear terror on us, according to Mike Flynn. And in the meantime, the Joint Staff's like, whatever, man, they do this shit all the time. And Putin's like, yeah, we put some shit over there. And Flynn and the rest of these assholes are like, you see, oh my God, Putin is so strong. Flynn literally said out loud, if I was on Putin's team, this is exactly what I'd advise him to do. And then he said,
is he still auditioning?
Then he said, if I was on our team, I would advise the president to do this, which was actually kind of true.
Can I just point out that this is a completely
it's the dumb
fucking
part.
this is so fucking ridiculous. This is an attempted replay of the Bay of Pigs, right? Except this is like Bay of Pig-headed nonsense. They're fucking ridiculous. I need to go back to Elon Musk for a second, because back in 2020, when I started saying Elon Musk is a fucking problem. I felt
Did
very, very
4 years
strongly.
ago.
I felt very, very strongly that Elon Musk is a sexual deviant.
Yeah.
All right.
And
All right.
well,
It's
Keir
not
Giles
important.
said that Russia looks for the deviants, right? And then we know that this just happened, even though Elon has denied, oh, if there was, if any sort of deviancy in my background, we'd know about it. But guess what? We have former employees alleging sexual harassment and retaliation.
Well, there was a lady who said that he offered her a fucking pony
Yeah.
for a hand job. So
Yeah.
he's a
For a
fucking.
hand job.
There's all kinds of weird shit, but that honestly, for me, this is about oligarchs. This is about billionaires and fucking people trying to turn into the world's first trillionaire. I'm gonna be the world's first trillionaire, damn it. They're and they don't fucking care about any of the rest of us. We're numbers to them. If you look at wealth inequality since Reagan, you will understand what's happening here and why they are so fucking intent on destroying democracy, on our franchise, our right to vote, and our right to love who we want to love, and our right to fucking do what the fuck we want in a free country. This is the real thing right now.
So hi-fi, yeah.
Speaking of oligarchs, and speaking of oligarchs doing shitty stuff, I do need to point out that there was a mental health company that was a telemedicine, right?
Yeah.
They were passing out Adderall like they were fucking Skittles, basically. And they got busted for that. But what a lot of people don't know is the primary funder of that company is one Mr. David Sachs, who is also very good friends with.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
And I would just like to remind everyone of this bullshit right here. Okay? Peter Thiel has lied to us in the news multiple times about, I'm out of politics.
Yeah.
But if you look at who was at David Sachs' $300,000 a plate fundraiser the other week,
So,
including Rupert Murdoch and like literally the worst fucking human beings on the entire planet of Earth.
So Hi-Fi yesterday morning sent us information about a new film called The Grab, showing how there's a secret scramble by governments and private firms to buy up global resources. And let me tell you why that's important. Is because we know from the work that we do that there has been billions of dollars spent to interfere with people's understanding of global warming. But we also know, because of the work we do, that the people who are paying to interfere with people's understanding of global warming absolutely know it's real, right? They know it's real. So as Jason Stanley said, they just want us to all be peasants while they go hide out in their bunkers, but we have some evidence of that. The film shows how the production team obtained emails from Frontier Resource Group, founded by Eric Prince. Now, this batch of emails was from 2012, but along with plotting an African land grab, the emails reveal a chilling disregard for human life. And here's a direct quote: "People die in the third world. It's Darwin's selection at its most pure." So if you guys don't think that what we're saying is true about what these people think of us and how they don't care if we perish, there's some evidence for you.
No, I mean, that particular Nazi said, somebody asked him, well, they're going to call you a colonialist if you say you want to go over to Africa and start running everything for them. And he was like, you're goddamn right. Literally. This is a colonialist, imperialist, fucking 15th century mindset that these people have, that that they're the world faring white men who are gonna repurify the world and whatnot, and they've decided that Putin is going to be their ally in the project. There's a very interesting sort of thing that you should watch for, which is, and it's always been implicit, but it's become much more explicit, which is Flynn's biggest fear and his biggest sort of geostrategic fantasy is that we're going to split Russia away from China, and fight China and also fight Islam together and fight the terrorism. We're going to fight the terrorisms and we're going to fight China, and it's going to be basically the Russian Empire on that side and Flynn's terrific empire over here, and together we're going to kind of remake the world in their little fascistic vision. But this attempt to kind of pull people literally over to the side of Russia, including one fellow who is now in Ukraine fighting for the Russians. Literally, a Marine is over there fighting for the Russians.
He's not a Marine. Sorry.
Former, but anyway, he was. That the part of the way that they are kind of pulling people over into this more overt, like pro-Putin thing, is by making the explicit idea, which has always been behind it, that we need to be friends with the great Russia because they're more like us than the hordes of commies. Because remember, this is all about the commies. Like, I hate the commies. It's anti-communism. It goes, all the way back to before Hitler. Anyway, so look for a lot of that shit as they start to figure out what their black swans are going to be and all that shit. It's all in this sort of strange project to force us together with Russia, and of course the great Donald Trump is the hero.
I want to quote you, Jim, from our very first interview 3 years ago now. You were talking about Prince and Bannon and Stone and Flynn, and trying to look at who else. There was a fifth person there, but basically,
Stone.
What you said, THIEL. So it's the whole five. It's THIEL, Stone, Prince, Bannon, Flynn. You wrote, or you told me, they want to destroy global liberal democracy and replace it with fascism and authoritarianism because they believe that situation is the best for them. And they may be right. Because if you're rich king of the world, what do you need all these people for? And then you said it's a brainwashed death cult when you were talking about those who adhere to QAnon and why QAnon has focused on spreading anti-vax, anti-mask conspiracies during a pandemic. And you noted so many people dying in the hospitals because of this cult. If you dispute the facts that the cult has put in their head, you are automatically the enemy. And I just never forgot that. It's like, what do you need all these people for? That is some chilling shit. But the fact that not 100% of Americans are working with all their might to defend democracy is our failing. I learned from a Hungarian film that I just watched, a documentary where Anne Applebaum was quoted 6 years ago saying that Putin needs Russians to not believe in democracy. Putin needs Russian people to think that democracy doesn't work. And it's literally like, we're allowing our democracy to be attacked for a decade, as well as other countries. And in the case of Ukraine, literally kinetic war for 10 years and full force last 2. But it's like in America, we still have a huge chunk of the population, approaching half, that's not even defending its democracy, that it's allowing fucking shit people like Putin and the shit US traders to make them think democracy is bad. Like, wake up, people.
No, sorry, I was in front of you this time.
Go.
Just this, I just want to clarify that Putin is the one that in the 90s is the one that, along with his KGB buddies, ran propaganda and psyops to downplay democracy. Because after the wall fell down, it was supposed to be a democracy. After Putin took over, it never was again, right? He took over and, like Trump will, just was like, okay, well, let's see. I can't be president again, so I'm going to be prime minister, and I'm going to have Medvedev be the president, and whatever, just it's the same as it was, but just call us different. And he's been doing that shit for 24 fucking years at this point. And you know, so there was the only chance that they ever had at a democracy was in the early 90s. But then, you know, frankly, I think some of our fault in the US, we didn't do a good job at trying to help them, you know, stay that way. And instead, Putin literally ran psyops on Russians to downplay democracy. Alexander Dugin was running around with the National Bolshevik Party, which was literally a combination of Nazism and Bolsheviks and communism. So all of those sort of active measures were happening in the 90s because there were forces, the regressive forces inside Russia didn't want democracy. So they went around destroying it, trying to downplay it. Then what happened? And this is important, and then I'll shut up. Vladimir Putin bombed his own fucking people and blamed it on the Chechens. And that right there, like the Reichstag fire in Germany, it was a false flag, a real kind, not the QAnon kind.
Yeah.
And it allowed him to put pressure on all the right people, get what's his face to just really drop out, and Putin was able to take power. And from that point forward, his goal has been, and he said this very, very clearly, he believes that the greatest geopolitical tragedy of the 20th century was the dissolution of the Soviet Union. And maybe the greatest geopolitical tragedy in the history of the world. And so what he wants to do is recreate the Soviet Empire. That's why he needs Ukraine so much. And that's why Mike Flynn was his guy to try and help him get it.
I'm going to take it a step further because we just learned from our friend Adam Sabera, and we should start getting to Adam's clips, that he thinks that Putin and this whole imperialism thing is cover for him just being running a kleptocratic syndicate as the head of a fucking mafia, out for power, out for wealth. And literally, he stole all the resources out of Russia. So now he's got to go invade his neighbors. So he can call it imperialism, but really what he is just a fucking thief.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't call it imperialism. And according to Putin, he has no plans to expand beyond, his little foothold here in Ukraine. Just let us sit here and everything will be fine. These Vichy motherfuckers on TV who are like, okay, we just got to stop now and draw the line and we'll be
Yeah.
fine. It's like, come on, man.
Well, let's listen to what Alex says about that whole kleptocracy.
So wait, hold it. Adam.
Putin as a politician, he's a person who grew up in the KGB circles. He was taught to be a KGB spy, which is different than a regular spy. It's people without a backbone who use, they're trained to use whatever means necessary to achieve their goals. And the thing about Russia is that ever since Stalin, he essentially incorporated the criminal structure into the state. It's not that, there's mafia and there's the state. It's essentially intertwined. I like calling today's Kremlin a kleptocratic syndicate rather than a political or ideological system. And I think, Putin, he's a power-hungry, essentially like the main oligarch who, in the first place, he went after power and money. And once that was gone in Russia, he has to expand, and he has to explain to his people why they don't have money and why he's expanding. So essentially, once the resources there were all controlled and stolen, and there's nothing more to steal. I'm simplifying right now, but he expanded to other countries, and Ukraine's not the first one. This happened to Georgia before. This happened in Chechnya, and yes, there's this sort of like imperialism thing, but in my opinion, I think imperialism is the story he says. But above all of this is the power and the money. He's essentially like an ultimate mafia guy,
That's exactly right. I mean, fascism is very much like the mafia.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Rubengia studies Italian fascism for a reason, because the mafia and Mussolini and that kind of sort of corporate fascism, and it really is corporate fascism, has been around for a long time, and he's exactly right. The story of the great Russia and the people. I mean, Dugin's very open, for example, about the fact that this is all the national idea. It doesn't matter if it's real. It doesn't matter any of it. All that matters is that we're all united behind a common cause, and we have a national, ideology that's the same. And it happens to be, this regressive, literally in Dugin's case, 17th century theology. Dugin is not even an Orthodox Christian. He's an old believer Orthodox Christian, which are these dudes that wear some crazy outfits, who believe stuff that they got mad at something that happened in 1650 because they got too woke. The Orthodox Christian Church got too woke in 1650. And so Dugin is an old believer, so he believes before that. That's his underlying theoretical kind of religious background. But it's all just a front for a mafia state, but importantly, run by white dudes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the fear of migration is not just fear, the fear of Jews, the fear of anybody, that isn't the great Caucasus power, Aryan, is to be feared and shunned in their quest. And I want to back up what he said. It's important. It is about power. Money is simply the methodology to achieve power, right? The actual number of dollars doesn't matter to them. What matters is their ability to wield power and to control others, and to, unfortunately, increasingly, literally just steal the labor and resources of the rest of us.
Yeah.
If you've looked at the wealth disparity, and I suggest you do, between it's it's sickening. The top 1% have like 35% of all of our shit, and the bottom 80% have 10%. It's very, very wrong.
I'm going to run back to a key concept of what you're describing about Dugan is it's the word syncretism, right? And the word syncretism is brought to us by Umberto Eco in his work Fascism,
Yeah.
about how it has to be a mix.
Yeah.
It has to be a bunch of things, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the 14
Yeah, it's brilliant.
characteristics of fascism. Yes, Eco was absolutely brilliant. Grew up, speaking of which, in Mussolini's fascist state, and knows him some fascism. And he wrote that essay. I think it was in like New York Magazine or something like that in the 90s, early 90s, something like that. And boy, howdy, read that and then think about Donald Trump, and he's fucking nailed it. Every single one of them. You can look exactly at where we are right now. This playbook is a playbook for a reason. It's a process for stealing from people, right?
Yeah.
And this is important. The primary thing you need is a terrified and confused population.
Yeah.
Right? You need people who don't know what the fuck is going on, and are scared of all the things, right? And that is what we're seeing right now, and why Elmo bought Twitter, is so he can scare the shit out of everybody all day long.
Speaking of which, Heidi set up our first clip from Adam or the second clip about the mental invasion.
Okay, yeah, I want to see one and three. Okay, yeah, 1 and 2 is fine. So, first of all, shout out to Alex Alvarova, who I love so much, who has taught us so much. She is our friend who grew up in the Czech Republic, very much understands the all of this, the whole playground of narrative warfare. Like, she understands the big expanse of it. And she led us to Adam Sabera, who had just done a TED talk on what he calls the mental invasion. Now, Adam, who you're going to see again, he's an analyst and a journalist, also from the Czech Republic. He spent 2 years documenting war crimes in Ukraine. And despite the fact that he has been documenting with his various teams more than 1,000 war crimes, he still feels that the mental invasion is the most pernicious of all. So want to show the second clip and then do the first one? Yeah, let's do that. You're muted, Boomer. Muted, Boomer.
Hold on. We're doing 2, then 1.
Okay,
So,
perfect. 2, then 1. That's
Obviously,
perfect.
we're going to talk about this kinetic war, but you did a very brilliant TED talk where
Thank you.
you talked about the mental invasion. And you gave me the gift of those 2 words, and I'm going to be using them a lot because obviously you're seeing the destruction and the bombs being dropped and the legitimate terror and loss of lives. But before any of that and during all of that is this mental invasion. We endure it here in America. It's still invisible to too many people. But can you please inform our viewers about that?
Mental invasion is a concept I came up with. My colleague Peter Poyman, who's a criminologist, and he's been studying deviant behavior of the Russian army and war crimes they've been committing here since 2014. He's been on the ground since 2014, and he was evacuated from Donetsk when I was evacuated from Kiev. He's a person who really knows what's happening, and we've came up with this concept, basically how not just conventional warfare, but also the kinetic and how the effects it has on people's mind is essentially crucial part of the Russian how would I say how they want to control strategy, how they want to control people, how they
Yeah.
want to subdue people. And like the longer this goes on, it becomes more difficult, and they know it. And with like being completely frank, um Russian people and Russian country is in a condition where they're used to struggling. Ukraine is essentially a European country, and they're used to some sort of some sort of comfort. And how they evaluate it is if we deprive them of this comfort, and we take we invade your mind with all this destruction and pain, eventually they will give up. But obviously what Ukraine has been proving is that's not the case, and they're ready to protect their freedom.
And they've proven that because 3 days to Kyiv has not worked out well for Putin.
No.
No, we're over 520,000 casualties for Russia in this war. They are losing population quickly. Things are looking grim for them.
They're just emptying out all their everything they can find, forcing people to go in there. Fuck, they're picking up American veterans now. I wanted to point out. You may ask, why did Marine Corps veteran? Oh, I can't remember his name right now. He's got 3 names. Anyway, what's his face? Trader says that he went to the Russians because he got fired because he wouldn't get the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, right. It's fucking heartbreaking.
Now, something that's important about that is there's been a major push. The military accountability program, or whatever the hell you want to call it, which is a bunch of criminal fucking propagandists who are trying to pull as many veterans as possible over to the other side, to believing that their military leaders should be tried in a Nuremberg 2 for the crime of asking them to get a vaccine, like the 40 fucking other vaccines that every military personnel has to take. It is the least unusual thing on planet Earth. But these fucking assholes have managed to turn it into a way of actually dividing our own veterans, and they're trying with active duty to split them off to being on the other side, on the other team. Fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that is right. Yeah.
The point is, it really has always been about this.
Yeah.
Like, to Putin, that is the best possible PR. He's like, see, there's gonna be more of that, kids. Here we go. Here it goes, right? Because he's just telling us what he's always wanted to do, which is to split America, pull some people off to one side, and Bob's your uncle. We either give into it, or we have to have a serious conflict. That is the heads I win, tails you lose situation that they're currently trying to put us in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the closer we get to this election, and the more sort of planning and operations they can do, the more Ivan Raiklins they'll just let run around, do whatever the fuck they want. The harder it's going to be to unwind.
To contain it.
They're winding it tight.
I really wish we had somebody else running the FBI right now, at least that.
I would like to,
Yeah.
I mean, at least that, right? I just retweeted a thread I did during COVID. Uh, one after another mindfuck person who died, and one story after another of a mindfuck person on their deathbed saying, I wish I could get the vaccine. And it's like, Russia has been involved in our understanding of science and health and vaccines for a very long time. And the same oligarchs that we talk about, like Robert Mercer, funds that stuff. And Jim, when you say they're just trying to divide, like the military, they're doing it to our law enforcement agencies too. When I worked on a political campaign, it was like the amount of people I met who worked in law enforcement who were sudden anti-vaxxers was absolutely bananas. So again, there are many groups that get targeted who then buy into the Russian narrative.
Just to pause on this, and we've talked about this before, but just to reiterate, because to me it maybe is the scariest part of all of this, right? If it was just Ivan and Flynn and running around with QAnon or whatever, that would be one thing. But they've got a very significant network of actual police departments, actual sheriffs, who have effectively pre-joined the Confederacy, right? Have said that they are willing to execute their constitutional powers because Ed Vandersteel told me that the Magna Carta guarantees my right to, it's just all this donkulous shit. But they twist it around into, now they have a fiefdom, right? That they're going to control with their little sheriff's office, and we're going to get the pedos, and we're going to, don't you come here with your woke shit, because, and if these are separate things, that would be one thing, right? Yeah. You got these crazy ass sheriffs, and then you got crazy ass Ivan and QAnon or whatever. Here's the part where it gets bad. They're talking openly. They are constantly collaborating. Ivan Raiklin was like at a press conference with Jay Sixers, was like, I just talked to the head of Constitutional Peace Officers and Sheriffs Association last night in person for a long time, and showed a picture of him with Sheriff Mack, Richard Mack, the craziest motherfucker on planet Earth, who runs this network of supposedly 12,000 people with guns and badges that are willing to go against the federal government if the shit fucking hits the fan. So it's not just that some of them have decided to go a little bit wonky, because hey, everybody's entitled to their beliefs, right? The problem is they've crawled up the chain to especially, and this is important, this weird layer that America uniquely has, which gives us a very, very vulnerable spot. And it consists of two different things, and then I'll shut up. The two different things are the sheriffs. We're the only modern democracy that has fucking sheriffs. We don't need the sheriffs. It's an unnecessary element, and the other unnecessarily element is police unions, which are not unions at all, which don't protect anybody's labor rights, which don't do anything except provide a weird sort of unaccountability zone for a bunch of Jim Crow shit to go on. And so between those things, unfortunately, we've got a large sort of layer of batshittery that's now being organized by the worst traitor in American history.
By the way,
we're not talking about Donald Trump.
By the way, can I just point out something that's not enough people are talking about it? And if this ends up getting swept under the rug, we're in big, big, big trouble. And what I am talking about has to do with a Supreme Court case that's coming up, right? Meta's trying to get rid of the lawsuit about the Cambridge Analytica stuff. And if there's one thing we know about social media, it's how data is gathered on people and used to target them with data science, including personally reported medical data, as Brent Allpress has told us many times. But here's the thing a lot of people don't know is that there's a guy named Kaplan who works at Facebook Meta, Joel Kaplan. And he is really, really, really good friends with Justice Kavanaugh. That's right. Brett Kavanaugh, our beer chugging 4100 ignored FBI tip Supreme Court justice, crying about how much he loves beer. Yeah.
God.
That asshole.
Let me just briefly. There was a ruling today about mifepristone.
Yeah.
That was the most obvious, like,
Yeah.
throw them a bone. They got my tapes. Shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
throw them a bone before they fucking kill me.
Yeah. Right.
But they left the case wide open for the next case, which is already geared up, which is the one that they will accept. When I see something like that Cambridge Analytica thing, you absolutely know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Moreover, and this is why it's so dangerous coming up on this election, is all of the different avenues that these people are trying to set up requires a very large legal component. They're setting up lawyers all over the fucking place to challenge all of the things.
Yeah.
But guess what? A lot of those things will end up going up to where? To the fucking Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Who will, with no doubt in your mind, do not have a single fucking doubt in your mind that all of the rulings from this point forward will absolutely 100% be made up to benefit the pro-Putin fascist theocratic fucking organized crime ring that's currently running the goddamn Supreme Court. So I'm going to be radical just briefly, and then I'll shut up. We can close, but I'm going to be kind of radical. And it doesn't really mean anything, but I'm declaring independence from those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I have no power, but if I find a way to break any of these fucking fascist bullshit nonsense made up decisions, if I find any way other than just yelling my fucking ass off about it, I will do it because they're illegitimate. They're not interpreting the Constitution. They're destroying it. Let me finish with this. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. The first 10 words of the Bill of Rights are called the Establishment Clause, and they guarantee my right to be an atheist and all of our right not to live in a theocratic fascist autocracy. Because guess what? That's where we came from. We were a theocratic fascist autocracy, and then we had a whole revolution. And the whole revolution thing was about getting away from that and with a grand experiment now for 250 years, try and do something as close as we possibly can to a democracy. And those motherfuckers sitting there with their little robes on, having been installed there by Leonard fucking Leo, by illegitimate presidents, may fuck themselves. I don't have to listen to them. They got there through cheating. When they got there, they proved that they were not there to do their fucking jobs. And I'm here to declare my independence from those motherfuckers. And no, it doesn't mean anything. But fuck them.
I think it's wonderful, Jim. I'm so inspired by that idea. I want to say that when I was in Washington, D.C. over the weekend at TEDx Mid-Atlantic, Dave Troy and Nate Mook's wonderfully curated event, I was sitting next to Hi-Fi, passing notes back and forth. We were taking notes and listening to one of the speakers.
Don't read that one.
I'm not going to, of course not.
Okay.
Hi-Fi. Jeez, what do you think I am, Jim? No, I'm just kidding. So we were talking about social media. There was multiple conversations about that from the various speakers, and everybody from David Hogg was there to Peter Pomerantsev, Elizabeth Newman. It was an amazing event, an incredible Ukrainian soldier who actually brings culture to the troops. And it was amazing. But when it came to the social media section, Hi-Fi wrote to me, why don't we recognize that this is what it was built for? This destruction that we are facing. Why don't we recognize it? Why don't we go back in time in the Wayback Machine and take a look at who funded it? Was it funded by people who believe in democratic values and really want the best for America? Or was it funded by oligarchs who want to destroy our democracy because, God forbid, their people should see that a democracy is a functional way to run a country? Yes, High Fidelity.
Might I remind everyone that the first $500,000 that went into Facebook, which was the cornerstone of this entire operation, was from.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Brilliant. Let's see 2 more clips from Adam.
Well, let's see some of the mental invasion he was talking about, because what Russia is doing, I mean, they hit this place on a Saturday just to make sure that there was a bunch of foot traffic, and that's a war crime. These guys.
This is the kinetic war. These are bombs. These are the real violence of war. But he'll explain to you what its main purpose is, not just to steal lives, but to steal people's security and safety. Adam Sabera, we are so grateful that you are here with us today, and so appreciative of everyone who is actually doing the work from Ukraine, boots on the ground. And what can you tell us about that video that we just saw?
Well, that's a video from an epicenter, which is like a Home Depot that was attacked by a guided missile, 2 of them actually, last weekend, I think, or it's a week to 10 days. I'm not sure the exact date right now. No, actually, it was on a Saturday. It was definitely on a Saturday, because we were talking about how they specifically attacked it on Saturday because that has the most civilians who would go in there to do their shopping. And it's a Russian tactic used to basically destroy everyday life and sort of make you feel in danger everywhere you go. You never feel safe. And after spending, not exactly in Kharkiv, but 2 years in Ukraine, you can feel it, that it sometimes, your mind plays with you. And if there's bombs and rockets flying into the city, into the civilian areas, like I notice on myself that when I'm too long in a populated place or where people tend to gather, you don't feel too well. Yeah.
It just head.
They Flynn calls them SIACs, which are kinetic actions, which are designed to have a psychological impact, which is also known as terrorism. Flynn's, by the way, Flynn has a phrase that he tells all his people, and the phrase is, "Local action has a national impact." Now, okay, does that mean you're going to get down there with your grassroots, or does that mean you're going to do some crazy shit and affect, the national attitude, which is what terrorism is for? So, there's a lot of this undercurrent.
He's documenting the theft of children and the raping of children by the Russian soldiers. He's documenting torture, the worst shit, and he keeps coming back to the mind war. So I feel like America is so woefully behind, and I think if people knew that we were being weakened intentionally, so dictators and oligarchs around the world can make it look like democracies are a failure so they can continue stealing everything. I think maybe more Americans would wake up to that. Hi-Fi knows and Jim knows that I interviewed a couple of people when I was in DC who stand outside the DC jail every night. And I used a technique that Peter Pomerantsev taught me, that one of the things that they agree on, the Mind Hack QAnon crowd, is American exceptionalism. So I asked them, don't you think all this fighting with each other is weakening us on the world stage? Don't you think us not having a shared narrative of truth is weakening us? And that really actually gave them pause. And they said, yeah, it is. That was like one little moment where we agreed. And I just hope that they actually think about it a bit, because it weakens us to have people living in these separate realities that are artificially planted by oligarchs and dictators who pay a lot of money to hack people's minds. Yes, Hi-Fi.
Speaking of things that might penetrate people's reality, if you check the news, there were investigations that found stolen Ukrainian children on Russian adoption sites. So it's obvious that Russia is stealing children from Ukraine, spiriting them away to Russia, and trying to turn them Russian, eradicating the people, the language, genocide.
You said something really important in our interview with Adam, where you talked about how in the Rwandan war that the propagandists actually ended up with a tribunal. And it's like, I need the people in America, like Tucker Carlson, to be recognized for the treason that they're committing on a regular basis on an international stage, an international tribunal. Because what Hi-Fi just showed is the reality of Russia and their war crimes, and what Adam documents is the reality of Russia and their war crimes. And what we get in America is people like Elon Musk, who's a very powerful person, lying on behalf of the Russian Federation. And I'm not here for it. I'm here for us to finally start to be able to see things more clearly in a united way. Let's see one more clip from Adam, because I think this is central to how we get that accomplished.
Which one is that? The TED or 4?
4.
Well, the people who do the war crimes are usually, ordinary soldiers, and I'm not saying it's a mistake of one soldier. I mean, it's a Russian systemic tactic for generations, how to inflict fear and how to inflict pain. But I don't think that's driven by greed. I think that's driven by that this is essentially the result of the hateful propaganda. The greed comes from the top, and they very well know that if they have these foot soldiers who are willing to do anything, including torturing people, raping children, killing, like flattening small cities and villages and anything they can reach, burning them out to the ground. They know they have a force that people will be afraid of. It's again, we come back to the criminal mentality and methodology. It's essentially fear is the factor that runs it. And coming back to greed, Russia and their oligarchs are using our system on how to launder money. They keep money in our banks, and this is, I think, a crucial problem because our politicians, unfortunately, keep the money in similar banks, and they will never go against their money because once this house of cards start falling, they will become impacted by it as well. And this is like the problem we have to deal with, and it will take like confidence and how would I say, determination to, you know, to take hits, which I mean, it went so far that taking this system apart will cost us, but you know, it's something we have to do. It's like we made a mistake in trusting Russia in the 90s, and in the 0 years we've started making money with them, and now, you know, we're what do you call it, sklidíš zase, like we're, what you're sowing what you or you know,
Reap
that
what you sow.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it exactly.
It's going to have to come down sooner or later. We
I mean-
know who the oligarchs are. We watch them. We see them. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jim?
there's we've got the real thing right now. We got fascism in Europe invading Europe. We have a genocidal fascist. Now, the stories that he's telling about how they raise small cities, they kill anything kind of in a zone, that is exactly what the Nazis did. I was listening to Rachel the other night. The second season of Ultra is out, by the way. And she's telling stories about panzer divisions in World War II, you know, that would just roll into a town and just kill everything that lives, mostly women and children, hundreds and hundreds of people. They just put them in buildings, light them on fire. Just a small little squadron of armed men and a couple of tanks, and these were the Nazi panzer divisions. And what you're hearing there is the same fucking thing. May not be at the scale yet, but neither was it in 1938 when they started rolling into you know, other parts of Europe, into Austria, and nobody did shit.
Yeah.
Just let them fucking do it.
Just let him roll.
And,
Yeah.
and we're about to do that again. So
We're finding out. Hey, he tipped us off to a drone unit in Ukraine called Peaky Blinders, colloquially. They started out as volunteers. Now they're their own unit in the, you know, fighting on behalf of Ukraine. And they're a bunch of badasses. And Betty Dangerous's community is trying to do a small fundraiser so they can repair some drones. So those who know how to reach me at bettydangerous.com, please reach out, because we're trying to raise $500 just so they can get some repairs done, and I think that's totally doable. So
awesome, Heidi.
got to do what we can. Got to do what we can, right?
Do what we can. Do what we can.
Every little bit
All right.
helps. Is that our show?
That's our show.
I think we have a show.
That's our show.
All right. Hey, Adam Schiff dropped a little thing today, so I thought I'd give it a remix for him. So this one's yeah, good on you, Adam Schiff.
Fuck yeah.
I want to begin by quoting the jury in the Manhattan hush money payment trial. Guilty. 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 guilty, 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 guilty. This was what the jury pronounced unanimously on every count. My Republican colleagues don't really contest Donald Trump's guilt. This is the fascinating thing. Their argument is essentially he should never have been prosecuted, or they falsely claim it was a political prosecution, or they falsely claim it should have been a misdemeanor, not a felony. But they don't contest, not really, that Donald Trump was making hush money payments to a porn star to hide their affair from voters. What they're really saying is they're more than comfortable nominating and electing as the President of the United States someone making hush money payments to a porn star. The party formerly of the moral majority is now, I suppose, hoping to fashion some kind of immoral majority to reinstate Donald Trump as president.